And you added your donate button?
Yep.
Awesome. Thank you, Hannah.
I need a stick to ensure 6 foot distance.
No. I'm just going to pull up the old live post on the iPad so I can see it here. Okay, the volume is off. And without further ado, welcome to another episode of Inside the Actors Studio with James Lipton. Excuse me, sorry, we're at the Wildcat Sanctuary. Welcome back, everybody, to the last and final Caretaker Q&A installment. I am joined by the marvelous Elyse, and the awesome Jessica. And look at that, you guys are holding some promotional signs because indeed it still is Miracle Match. It'll be coming to a wonderful conclusion at the end of next week. But obviously, as we highlight our amazing caretaking staff, it's always great to remind you guys that your donations are going 3 times as far to ensure that these two can keep on doing the awesome work that they're going to be telling us all about. So first off, why don't you guys just first of all welcome, and why don't we introduce yourselves and tell everyone your titles here at the Wildcat Sanctuary.
You first. Me first? Yeah. I'm Elyse. I am a senior caretaker clinic coordinator, so I do a lot of helping get cats ready for their vet days and also helping with staff in the training that we do, the Operant Conditioning type thing, and kind of training staff in and interns and helping bounce around from zone to zone and doing projects. So I do a lot of things. Mm-hmm. I tend to be a little bit more of a floater, but being a senior caretaker, I can also help by jumping into zones when someone is off or someone has vacation, and then helping in the hospital as well. And awesome. You guys, when you need enrichment place.
That's right. You're my ace in the hole. Jessica?
So I'm Jessica. I am a caretaker 1. I co-lead zone 3. So that's pretty much what I do. I don't have as many roles as Elyse over here.
And that's you and Rio,
yes,
who co-lead
Rio,
Zone 3.
Yep.
And just remind everyone, what are the kind of sections or animal buildings within your zone?
So we have Wild Woodlands, Pride Prairie, Small Cat Track, and then Quarantine.
Awesome. So I'm going to kind of do, we're going to jump right into it, and we're going to start off with some introductory things. So Jessica, we're going to go back to you. What kind of degrees do you have, and what kind of led you to TWS?
So I actually have both my bachelor's and master's in biology. I first came to TWS as an intern. I always wanted to work with big cats.
And what year did you first arrive as an intern?
2019.
2019. Okay.
Yeah, 2019. I came here as an intern and ended up staying on for a full year with being a lead intern as well. I saw the internship and I knew I always wanted to work with big cats, so I just thought this was the opportunity, and still am here. So. Awesome,
and it's interesting to think that that you were an intern and you were here for a whole year's time, and so. A regular internship is just 6 months. So what were you doing for that other 6 months? Being a lead intern.
Being a lead intern, yeah.
And so how is that different than a regular internship experience?
So being lead, you have a few more responsibilities. You're able to go and do laser therapy with the cats on your own. You don't have to go out with someone else. You were in charge of the interns of the house. You're making sure that chores were getting done. The house was all good. Taking a better or leader role in training with prep and chores and everything else that has to get done around the sanctuary.
Cool, yeah. So definitely a different, kind of a higher threshold of responsibilities between a regular intern and our lead interns. Elyse, before I ask you this question, it's exciting. It happened on this very day, celebrated your 8 years here at the Wildcat Sanctuary. So yes, here's indeed. My round of applause, Mr. Oreo, if you could give us a round of applause. So Elyse, 8 years ago, what type of degrees did you have, and how did you get here to TWS?
Oh man, quite so long ago. You're gonna make me think of all this now. My degrees are actually environmental science with a minor in biology and an emphasis on resource conservation and land management.
Wow.
So I actually don't have like zoology or any of that kind of background, but mine is an associated type of degree. So I was looking at more doing conservation work for animals, and I fell into doing my first internship with big cats and bears. I really loved it, and after I was done with that, I applied to a zoo, and I started working there, and then I kind of bounced around until I saw a position was open here at the Wildcat Sanctuary, and I applied, and I guess the rest is history for the past.
And so you were not an intern, you had already had previous
not.
internship experience.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
And I had worked at other zoos for about 3 years prior to coming here.
And that was 8 years ago. What did the sanctuary look like 8 years ago?
So different, so different. It's amazing to have been here. Even this 8 years, I mean, Tammy, obviously, seeing the evolution of everything, but just in the 8 years, seeing it, I mean, we didn't have feline meadows. There was only one enclosure out there, which was Henry and Haley. Wildcat Pines hadn't been renovated. We only had 6 bungalows for the hybrids. We're now up to 13.
Wow.
Quarantine was still, the older one hadn't been redone like it is now. I mean, this building.
This was I don't even know if this was a twinkle in Tammy's eye yet.
I know, yeah. It was a lot. We rebuilt Small Cat Track in that time, Wildcat Pines, Pride Prairie, man, just thinking of all these, I'm just going around in a circle is a lot. It looks so different.
And so there was another question I think would be a great segue to that, Elyse. And if you could just describe, let me see if I'm going to find the exact question here. Yes, so Elyse, if you can remember, will you describe what were you excited about on your very first day? Maybe some of the feelings that you had about your very first day of working at the Wildcat Sanctuary.
Super nervous. I mean, coming in and not knowing anything and not knowing prep, because food prep for animals can be so different places. I was super excited because I do have a love for big cats and in general, so I was really excited to get that chance to finally work in the animal field. A lot of times at zoos and stuff, that's kind of the coveted position, is to move up and work with the big hoof stock and the big cats and the bears. So it was pretty exciting, but I was really nervous because there's so many here and it was so different, and the responsibility here is so much more, where at a zoo when you come and you only have a small group of animals that you're working with, it's a lot easier to maintain stuff when you're working with out in the big zone and you've got only working with 20 and they're big cats, and you're responsible for the safety and for the gates and checking locks and making sure where your interns are, your tools are coming out. There's so much going on. So my first day was so nervous. I don't think I ate lunch. I think I was too nervous to eat my lunch, but I was super excited and I just wanted to do good. And I was like, yes. I was like, yes, ma'am, I can do anything you want me to do. So now, obviously we all, we're all 3 employees here at TWS, and we know how life can kind of change and think, different chores or obligations, duties can be thrown at you. How long did it kind of take you to fall into your own and feel like you're confident in your abilities as a caretaker? I think it took a few years to really take off and feel comfortable leading others and being the one that others were coming for questions. It was organic though. I can't pick a day when it was yes, I'm comfortable now. I can do all this, because there's still an edge to when you go out. There's always in the back of your mind, I checked all my stuff. No, let's stop and go check again. Mm-hmm. So, it's always there and it's evolving, and my comfort is definitely higher, but I don't want to be complacent either.
Yep,
so
exactly.
That's something that I always try and remind myself, and have my others that, come and tell me, at least you forgot your coffee cup over there. So I'm listen, if all I forgot was my coffee cup, that's a daily basis thing. I forget where I set my coffee. You can ask anybody.
Every day.
But
multiple times.
That's right. It's usually sitting in the grass where I check something or that. But I mean, yeah, it definitely probably took a few years to really feel comfortable, because after that time I was learning chemical immobilization and doing more crating and all that kind of stuff. And the higher your responsibility goes, there's a comfort, but also that kind of edge to it. So
awesome. I'm going to interrupt our interview for a second just to welcome everybody back. Hello, all. It is a Caretaker Q&A day here at the Wildcat Sanctuary. This is our last Caretaker Q&A. That's Caretaker Elyse, Caretaker Jessica over there doing an awesome job of answering your questions about how your support allows them to do the amazing work that we've been hearing about. Jessica, so you had talked about how you had taken some time off, about a year, to get your master's before coming back to TWS?
No, I actually finished my master's as I was an intern.
Okay.
I was in my final semester.
Wow, kudos to you.
Yeah, it was hard. Don't recommend it. Yeah.
And so, you were working as a vet tech somewhere else.
Yep.
And so, what was it that made you want to, you saw that there was a caretaking position. What was it that made you want to come back and be a caretaker at the Wildcat Sanctuary?
The day that I left as an intern was a very sad day. I never wanted to leave this place. So I knew, and I told everyone, like, if they had a job opening, I was obviously going to apply for it. So I had a feeling that one day I'd be back. So as soon as I saw that job opening, I think I went home that day when I got off and applied. It feels like home here. I mean, it's a dream job to work with big cats. Everyone says, oh, I want to work with tigers, lions, or something. But not everyone gets to do it. So it was a huge opportunity for me, and I'm glad that it was there. Awesome. I'm sure everybody likes hearing that. And every day I hear it whenever they see the caretakers on live post. It's, you guys have the dream job. And so I think that's kind of a segue into, maybe why don't you guys tag team about some of the not so fantastical aspects of being a caretaker, why it might not be a quote unquote dream job at times.
You go first. What do you think you put on your top list?
It's a lot. It's not just going and feeding and hanging out with the animals. There's every area of the zone has to be cleaned. It has to be up to USDA standards. Has to be up to Tammy, Kelly, and our standards. We have to make sure that everything is clean. So it's not just go feed and give the cats enrichment and just kind of watch. That's just a glimpse.
Mm-hmm.
We spent Ari and I spent 3.5 hours this morning cleaning an inside of a building. So it's just little things like that a lot of people don't see that we do.
Mm-hmm.
That is definitely takes a toll on your body.
Yeah.
I mean, Elyse can.
Oh, yes.
A little older than me, so Elyse can attest to that. But it definitely takes a toll on your body, and that's definitely. I wish we could just go feed and hang out with the cats all day.
And so, Jessica, talking about the physical side, why don't you touch on maybe some of the emotional side of that?
It can be hard. Very, very hard. The emotional impact. I mean, compassion fatigue in this field, anybody that works in animal care, veterinary care, emotional fatigue definitely is hard. Mm-hmm. And a lot of our guys come to us with poor health, backgrounds we don't know, older, geriatric. So it can be so hard. It can be so rewarding to see them when they come in and you gain their trust and you work hard with them to give them the last years, months, days of their life to have a time where they can play in the grass or have toys or, be the cat that they want to be and not be forced to do things. But then that also comes with a lot of heartache when you say goodbye because you're so close to them and you see them flower so much and then you have to say goodbye. So that takes a heavy toll. Mm-hmm. And also even when we're able to save them, that stress of making it there and going on checks, like going down and checking how are they doing, talking to everyone and getting them through that point too is an emotional roller coaster. So, there's a lot of aspects to it emotionally. And when you're just tired at the end of the day, having to carry that last 5-gallon bucket of water over it, fill up the last bucket is just like, I don't want to, but
persevere.
Exactly. Just pushing through sometimes, it can be hard, but
definitely. Well, let's change it up to some softball questions here for a little bit. You guys have been doing an awesome job of answering everyone's questions so far. And I hope as you guys have been listening, you're able to kind of put the pieces together and truly understand how times like now during Miracle Match, where donations are going 3 times as far, just how much it creates opportunities for people like Elyse and Jessica to do everything that they possibly can within their ability to provide wild-at-heart lives for 100 plus cats here at TWS. So, speaking of those 100 plus cats, let's start with you, Jessica. Out of all the species that we have here at the Wildcat Sanctuary, what is your favorite species?
Lion.
Okay, lion. Now, who is your favorite lion?
Gino.
Gino the lion. Okay. And I have some more questions on Gino that we're going to get to later. Elyse, favorite species?
I should really ask everybody else if they know.
I think that's right. This might be a rhetorical question for Elyse, but if I'm going to ask, is it 2 words?
2 words.
Black leopard.
Does it start with an
Close
S?
enough. Does it start with an S? I mean, we got 2 black
I guess then 2 S's.
Start with an
So would you say that Shazam would be your favorite, I guess, just cat here of all time? Okay.
Pretty close, actually. There's one that jives for Mr. Shazam, and it's a cat that passed away here first, and is Bullet. He was a silver Bengal.
Okay.
And I worked really hard with him and close with him before he passed away, so I don't tell Shazam that. But yeah, Shazam, I've always been partial to leopards and jaguars, so Shazam definitely has good stuff.
And we're going to talk a little bit about operant conditioning here, and you'll be able to expand a little bit more, perhaps about why your guys' relationship is the way it is after all the work that you have done with him. And still, we're going to keep it light here for a second. I want to, because I know we keep it kind of broad with, who's your favorite cat. We're narrowing it down. So hybrids. Who is a favorite hybrid among some of you? Jessica.
Thor Senior right now.
He's
AP was a big one before she passed away, but Thor Senior definitely.
And what is it about Thor Senior?
Just his personality. He reminds me a lot of myself, where he wants attention, but then when he gets over it, he wants to be left alone. So we kind of vibe in that way.
And for those who don't know, Thor is a F1 Savannah who lives in our hybrid haven. Him and Maximilian live together, 2 F1 Savannahs. So that's special. Thor is incredibly acrobatic too. I have some great photos of him launching up. Yeah, it's really incredible. Elyse, how about you?
Oh my gosh, that's so hard because they're all such personalities. I feel bad picking one, be like, oh, my favorite. But I mean, I really like Love because of her zoomies, but I always have a spot for the ones that are a little more tough cases and stuff. And I really like Lupita. She lives by herself. She's a quiet cat. She's kind of like, I don't need anybody. She's like this tough little lady, but I always like to make her little tents, and she goes inside them. And then I'm like, ah. So I like her. I love Thor. I work with him doing some operant conditioning. So of course, I mean, look at he's like, I left them because they didn't say my name. So, but I mean, yeah.
That's right, and we use the word favorite a lot, but obviously, we're never putting one cat in front of the other because we care about it more than the other. We obviously love and care about all of our cats equally, but there's no denying that sometimes, some can find a little bit closer ways to our heart than others. So that's cool to hear about that. And the last question we're going to end with this is favorite tiger. Jessica? Polina. That was, I think I could have guessed that too, actually. Polina of Tarek and Polina, of course. And how about you, Elyse?
Oh man, I really like Caesar a lot. And yeah.
Caesar?
Caesar, yeah, of the ones that are still with us currently. I do like Caesar a lot.
Yeah, I think I can agree with that. And I think part of what really sells me on Caesar is seeing how different he is than Logan.
Yeah.
And how different those personalities are, and just how unique those cats are from one another. What do you think, Oreo? Did I get some catnip on my questions? All right, I really like this question, and it was asking about rescues. Let me find it here. And it's kind of a 2-part question. Elyse, we're going to go to you first, and I'm going to kind of put a twist on it for you, Jessica. So Elyse, I know that you've been on some rescues, more than a handful. Which one has been the most memorable for you?
Man, yeah, they're all memorable. But Daisy and Mohan was really memorable because we left in the middle of just a horrendous storm. There were tornado warnings and stuff, so we're getting ready, it's getting dark. I just remember driving and being white knuckled with our big trailer and then driving to get there because we had heard that there were a couple cats in pretty desperate need. So then when we got there, and it was one of those that kind of opened my eyes to the rescue too, that you don't know what you're walking into, and you don't know the people that you're going to be there. They can just open things up, and there's a tiger on the other side. Like, it was one of those that was definitely had to be on your game, and just kind of, it wasn't necessarily that there were a lot of people who were super stressful, but having to drive through the inclement weather and then getting to cats that, if everyone's followed, seen Daisy and knowing Mohan with his bow-leggedness, and having to pretty much drive all the way back. We drove straight back through. We slept for like 3 hours, got back on the road and took them down for diagnostics to the U of M to see both of their health and what we could immediately do to help them. Got them back in, drove them back up here to take them back. So it was like, it felt like, 2 to 3 days doing all that stuff, and it was very draining, but it's so great to see Daisy today. When she came, she couldn't walk. She was a totally different tiger, and so that made it worth it. But I'd say that was probably one of the more memorable ones for sure, was Daisy and Mohan. It was just so intense and so long to get those guys to a good space. Yeah, most definitely. And so, kind of using that as an example, Elyse is out on the road with fellow staff members. Jessica, you maybe not have been out on the road on a rescue, but that doesn't mean you're not participating in some form or fashion. So what is it like for you when caretaking staff is out on the road and you are back here at the sanctuary?
It's definitely stressful and kind of chaotic. Obviously, we want to make sure that the room and their yard is ready for them, so that when they do get here, we don't have to worry about anything. And then it's just kind of a countdown of when they will arrive. Luckily, we have pretty good communication, and we're like, 10 minutes out, so that way whoever is helping with, getting them out of their, getting them into the room or anything like that is ready. But it's still stressful, as exciting as it is, it's still stressful because you want to make sure that the cat is safe, that you are safe, that everything is ready, everything goes smoothly. We don't want to stress the cat out anymore from, being on a long drive or anything like that. So it's just making sure that everyone is ready, everyone is on their toes, and just make it as smooth as possible for the cats.
Yeah, definitely. And that's the thing. It also can really depend on the rescue itself that's coming. Bruno, for example, he had surgery prior to us rescuing him, so his room is going to look different than Bobcat Shrek, for example, who was, ready to go upon arrival, if you will. So, there's lots of preparation, and you're doing that on top of being short-staffed with other staff members being on the road covering for their zones and things like that. So, it's definitely worth acknowledging that, there's the glamour of being out on the road on the rescue, but it's also the hardworking people like Jessica who are back here and pretty much taking part in that rescue in their own right as well. So definitely. We're going to move to Operant Conditioning. And so Elyse, give me just a quick elevator pitch about what Operant Conditioning is. And then I just want you to talk about, did you specifically train to do the operant conditioning for the cats?
So operant conditioning is a form of training, if you will, that we use with the cats, and it's curtailed to that cat. So it's not a one-shot-fits-all. We curtail the plan, even if it's just asking them to come into their room, or if it's asking them to come into a crate, or even for medical purposes to side up and injections and things like that. So we use operant conditioning to get cooperation with the cats. Everything's so much easier awake, and if they're not scared or upset or angry and allow it voluntary, everything goes smooth. It's a lot better. It's kind of like, come on over here and get looked at, and then here's the lollipop when you leave the doctor's office. I do have training. I started in the zoos, and then here we've actually had a couple times people come that actually do operant condition, train people how to do it properly, because you hear it, but there's actually a lot to go to it. And when you're doing it, one of the big things is bridging. They teach you how to bridge because you need to capture it right in that moment, because we don't speak the same language. So the only way you can do it is by using that mechanical sound to say, yeah, that's what we were looking for. And they're habitual, so then they kind of go back with it. So I do have training. I've been to a few classes, and now I kind of help teach others here and get cats started on some of the more difficult ones before I hand it off to the other caretakers to maintain, and then I go check up on them. And the cats will not lie. They will tell me.
And so, Jessica, you also kind of practice a similar form of, it might not be exactly operant conditioning, but you're still asking for voluntary cooperation with your cat. So I think of a cat like Gino, who can get pretty darn excited when he likes eating. So what type of voluntary cooperation are you looking for with Gino?
So anytime he gets food, he gets asked to lay down. And that's just kind of to keep him still and keep him calm so he's not banging on the guillotine or the doors or anything like that. And then in the winter, he gets cuts on his pads, so we've slowly been starting to, get him to show us his one paw. He's really good with his one because it doesn't go down, but it's just things like that. So he knows lay down, he knows one paw, and he's easy to shift in and out, so he's got that down.
Yeah. And just for for my learning, are you achieving that through an operant conditioning routine of him raising his paw and things like that, using the bridge and things like that?
Yeah. Okay. So we all have, I think all caretakers now have little clickers.
Okay.
So I think all caretakers pretty much have at least one cat right now that we're doing operant conditioning with.
And so is Gino your cat?
Gino is mine. Yep.
Gino is your cat. Mm-hmm. Elyse, who are some of the cats that I know that we know about Shazam.
Yeah.
So why don't you tell me just a couple of the cats that maybe you're working with right now?
Ooh, a lot on the list. Besides getting some started, I help me and Mike do Tao.
Okay.
We'll work with her.
That's good, because that was a question we were going to talk about.
So she's one of them. I am working with Anastasia right now. She's quite difficult, but working with her, obviously Shazam. I was also working with 2 of our witness protection cats to help with my medical needs. The 2 rambunctious little ladies down there. And I watch with Dash, and then Alyssa usually does that kind of stuff. I'll go check with Gino. And then Thor, the hybrid. We do our hybrids too. They get it the same. Work with them for training for injections and nail trims and coming up and crating. So those guys, those are the main ones. And Andre Cougar is the other one that I've been working with too. He likes to chew on sticks.
Yeah.
So we want to make sure that he's not doing anything in his mouth. So I'm working with him to open.
Awesome.
So.
Yeah, definitely. And so I think I'm going to lob this one to you, Elyse. And this is something that I was even curious about when I learned with Cougar Andre. And you'll know maybe what I'm talking about after I ask this question here. But Lisa K asked this question after she saw Mansa's wellness exam on Tuesday. And I'm just going to kind of read the question here. I know that when I take my cat for the vet for any reason, they come home smelling different. My other cats hiss at them and sniff them and are very cautious around them for a while before things go back to normal in my house. I'm wondering if the big cats do that as well. Will Leo hesitate when Mansa is returned to their enclosure? So is there ever any type of adjustment period for cats when they're coming back to a group? I know that Andre, when he had his dental surgery to remove that obstruction, he spent some time up in quarantine, and there was a little bit of an introductory period for him and those cats. So is that something that we keep in mind?
It is. It always is, because when you take one out of a group, you never know. They do have a little bit of a hierarchy, and some are easier going than others. So when you bring them back, depending on how long it's been, you want to do it slowly or allow them to kind of maybe gauge each other again through a protected area if you can. With Andre, it's easier to let Andre out, get his bearings back in the enclosure, and then let his enclosure mates out one at a time. Not let everybody run over and start smelling Andre, and then he's like, whoa, what's everybody smelling me for? And just kind of let them out one at a time. And sometimes they don't care, and sometimes they do get a little like, whoa, why do you smell weird? But having things that could distract them, just as we would do with any kind of introduction, or even one for the first time when cats meet. We keep those things in mind too when that happens. Some are a little easier. Actually, Leo, when Mansa came back, their rooms, they have a space that they could see through. Leo came right in and he was like, hey, how you doing? And Mansa was like, no. But he was pretty cordial about it and calm. When Mansa came back, he just wanted to see that she was still there, and he was like, okay. And then he continued to roar, and she was like, headache. But so.
Okay, yeah, that's definitely interesting to know, and something I think just highlights how you guys are taking every darn thing into consideration when it comes to the well-being of these cats. So I appreciate that, and obviously everybody, our supporters, does as well. So I'm just going to check the time because Judson has been talking for 25 minutes. We've all been talking. So I think we're gonna kind of draw things to a close here. I just want to end with Jessica and Elyse. Tell me one thing that you're looking forward to this coming year here at TWS.
The possible merge that we're currently working on.
Okay. Ooh, yeah. I like that because we're kind of can tease the audience about that as well. So potential mergers and of course news that will be shared with sponsor parents and our social media audience in due time. How about you, Elyse?
Well, I'm excited for a new prep room.
The new prep room.
Listen, yes. We got a new hospital with space. It's the best. So I'm excited for the prep room to be new.
That's going to be very exciting and more room for you guys to prep more food and food storage.
Yes, that is exciting. And
Tammy's kind of the key holder for all the information on that, and we're looking forward to telling even more folks about that campaign. But hey, you guys, thank you so much for taking a moment and sitting down with myself and all of our awesome supporters out there on Facebook. It means so much to me. It means so much to them that you guys are taking a second from your busy, busy day to connect with them and let them know all the things that you guys do thanks to their support. So I appreciate it very much. And thank you guys so much again. And thank you all out there. Have a great rest of your day. And we'll see you tomorrow for a traditional sanctuary stroll with all the cats you do so much to support. Let's see if I can turn it off from here. That doesn't look like I can. Excuse me, Oreo. Bye, everybody.
Bye.